Hey guys, Fledge here bringing you another Fledge Talks video, and this video is all about the 5 biggest potential free transfers to take place this summer. We're in January right now, and for football fans that means 3 things. 1, the season has reached or is reaching the midway point of the season, which means the business end of the campaign is fast approaching. 2, the January transfer window is once again open. And 3, players are entering the final 6 months of their current contracts with their current clubs, which means that they are now free to arrange a free transfer to any club they choose to take place this summer under the Bosman rule. There are some very big names on this list that I'm about to present to you, and they are going to be wandering around as free agents in the summer. And this year, there is one name in particular that could be the biggest free transfer of all time. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 5, Mesut Ozil. The intriguing case of Mesut Ozil is set to take another turn this summer as his current contract with Arsenal is set to expire, leaving him a free agent. The 32-year-old playmaker has been frozen out of Arsenal's playing squad this season by manager Mikel Arteta, and the reason for this seems to be both on and off the pitch issues. On the pitch, Ozil has been in a bit of a decline over the past few years in terms of consistency in his performances. Everyone knows that on his day, Ozil can be phenomenal. He is phenomenal to watch. He's a great talent to watch. And pretty much often is called unplayable when he's in the right mood for it. But those kinds of performances were about as rare a sight to behold as seeing like Halley's Comet or something. Whilst off the pitch, Ozil has proven to be rather outspoken on a number of political topics, beginning in 2018 when he publicly shared his views and support for what was currently going on in Turkey at the time. And this incident caused him to become a media scapegoat for Germany's shocking and disappointing World Cup performance. And it left the German afterwards wanting to retire from international football, which is what he went on to do. Since then, of course, Ozil has expressed his opinion on the situation surrounding the Uyghur situation in China and the treatment they're receiving over there by the Chinese government, and it caused a huge stir there. So much so that China didn't show Arsenal's matches due to the comments that he made, and the club itself were forced to distance themselves from the playmaker and his opinions. It's safe to say that Ozil has been doing a lot more of his talking off the pitch than on it in recent years, and rather than let his ability talk on the pitch, he's definitely been using social media to talk off it, and his words have actually spoken louder than his actions, and it certainly seems that bar some kind of miracle U-turn by Arsenal, his Arsenal career is at an end. But maybe a fresh start for him could be a good thing. And based off history and his ability on what he can do on the pitch, you'd think that maybe there's still some fuel left in the tank for him to properly focus on. And if he properly focuses on his football, of course, there's probably enough to say that he still is a worthy asset to most clubs. He, of course, played 254 games for the Gunners since joining them in 2013 and has gone on to score 44 goals and assist 77 times. I cannot see him going to another Premier League club, though, at the risk of not only just his wages alone, but also, of course, his outspoken nature causing issues within another club, for example. But maybe heading back to Germany, despite, of course, the off-the-pitch issues between the two parties there, could be an option. Or maybe even he could go back to Turkey or something. That could well and truly be on the cards as well. Either way, the future of Mesut Ozil is very much up in the air, and one that we should all keep an eye on going forward. Number 4, Georginio Wijnaldum. Could Georginio Wijnaldum be on his way out of Liverpool? The 30-year-old Dutch midfielder's contract is set to expire this summer, and it's safe to say there are a number of options available for him. Wijnaldum signed for the Reds back in 2016 for a fee of £25 million from Newcastle United, and he's been a big and a huge part of the playing squad ever since as a main starter in a midfield three that has grown over the years and become heavily contested ever since within Jurgen Klopp's reign as manager. He was, of course, part of the squad that has won the Champions League, Super Cup, Club World Cup, and, of course, the Premier League title with the Reds, and has played 209 times for Liverpool in the past 4.5 years, scoring 20 goals and assisting 16 times. It's of my opinion that he is arguably one of the Premier League's most underappreciated and underrated midfielders. His energy, his composure on the ball, his ball control can be amazing to watch at times, and he's very versatile in the sense that he can play any role within that central midfield area. Whether it's holding role, ball carrying role, box-to-box role, or even a more advanced role, he can do it all. Yes, he does have a tendency to go missing at times, and he can be quite frustrating when he's not as effective in certain games, or even goes missing in certain games. But for the majority of the time, he's actually quite consistent and performs to a high standard. Although maybe he does have a tendency to go under the radar at times. The 30-year-old is currently in contract negotiations with Liverpool over extending his current contract with the club, but the stumbling block appears to be question marks over the amount of game time that he will receive going forward. As I previously mentioned, Liverpool's midfield has become quite competitive over the past few years with the additions of the likes of Fabinho, Naby Keita, Takumi Minamino, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and of course, most recently, Thiago. And then you add that to the rise of Curtis Jones from the Liverpool youth setup to go along with the likes of Jordan Henderson, the captain, and vice-captain James Milner, who have been there for years. It's become a heavily stocked area full of quality for the Reds that Wijnaldum may be feeling he can't get a regular game here and there because of how competitive it is. But in order to keep everyone happy and finding the right combination in midfield for every game, it may mean that Wijnaldum may not be as a regular starter as what he once was. So that may be why he's considering his options. It's entirely possible Wijnaldum could seek a more of a starting role elsewhere, somewhere in England perhaps, maybe a return or maybe a return to the Netherlands. There's also been a lot of talk over the past couple of years alone that he may join Barcelona and reunite with his fellow countryman Ronald Koeman, who is of course the manager there now. The Spanish Giants were heavily linked with the Dutch midfielder, particularly last summer. Maybe they were just biding their time to see if they could get him on a free transfer the year after, which, as things may stand, could be a certain possibility. Whichever way it goes, though, Gini Wijnaldum won't be short of options as to where his future lies between now and the summer. Number 3, Sergio Aguero. Is Sergio Aguero's time at Manchester City coming to an end? The Argentine striker certainly has made a bigger name for himself in the Premier League and is forever now in the history books of both the Premier League and Manchester City, going down as a legend. Not just for everything else he's done, but for in particular the heroics back in 2012 when he scored that last gasp winner against QPR on the final day of that season to clinch City their first Premier League title in 44 years. The 32-year-old striker signed back in 2011 for City and has since made 378 appearances for the club, scoring 256 goals and assisting 73 times, with 180 of those goals coming in the Premier League in 267 appearances, which you don't need me to tell you is a superb goals return. And that's why he's become known as one of the Premier League's most deadly and prolific strikers and has become one of the best to ever grace England's top-tier division. Aguero has won everything domestically with City, starting off minor with 3 Community Shields and then rising to 5 League Cups, 1 FA Cup and 4 Premier League titles to his name. He has done it all in England, but the one thing that has eluded him so far is the Champions League, and it's possible that City may win that competition this year. It's entirely possible and entirely thrown out there that he may be able to help City towards winning that Champions League title, the one that they all crave and want. And if that's the case, that would be an amazing send-off for the Argentine and arguably their best striker in the club's history. It would also mean that the news headlines years ago saying that Aguero would not leave City until they win the Champions League would actually be true, and that he would actually be telling the truth. But it's easier said than done, of course. The reality is, Aguero isn't getting any younger, and within the past couple of years alone, Aguero has missed many games due to his poor injury record. And these things combined, along with his contract nearing its end, have started the rumour mill that there's a big possibility that Harry Kane of Tottenham could be brought in as his replacement. If you cast your minds back to the end of last season, of course, City had to say goodbye to another legend in David Silva. He left the club following his decade stay with City and then returned to Spain. Could Aguero be following suit? Could a return to Spain be on the cards for the Argentine striker? Could he even go back to Argentina itself? Or will City decide to extend his contract? The last one does seem a little more unlikely than the rest, but anything certainly is possible. Wherever he decides to play his football in the future, the club will need to keep him fit and healthy and off the injury table for as long as possible. He's still deadly in front of goal, arguably a defender's worst nightmare, but injuries have certainly let him down over the past couple of years alone. So the big question here is, what exactly does the future hold for Sergio Aguero? Number 2, David Alaba. Yes, it seems that the versatile Austrian star is on course to leave Bayern Munich this summer, and from early reports, he's being pursued by a number of top clubs from around Europe. The 28-year-old joined Bayern when he was just 16 years old, and 3 years later, after rising through the Bayern youth setup and being sent out on loan to Hoffenheim, he began to make a name for himself in the Bayern senior squad, and since then, he has become a big part of the furniture at the club, making 405 appearances for the club during that time, and helped Bayern to winning 9 Bundesliga titles, 6 German domestic cups, 3 German Super Cups, and is a 2-time Champions League winner. The versatile player who can play in both midfield and defence will be a worthy asset to any club, I'm sure. He brings with him a wealth of experience, knows how to win trophies, and is a leader within a squad. He's 28 years of age, which means that he's in his prime and has a number of years left within him. And as far as free transfers go, this one is certainly a bargain for many of those reasons, and probably a lot more than what I haven't explained here. So I'm pretty surprised that Bayern have decided to let this guy go, in all honesty. As I said earlier, there are said to be a number of clubs that are attempting to snap up the Austrian signature. The main 2 that we know of right now appear to be Spanish giants Real Madrid and Premier League champions Liverpool. As of right now, they are the only 2 that have been strongly linked with his name. I'm sure there are a lot more out there. I suspect that there's going to be a lot more waiting in the shadows kind of thing, just in case. And you can probably guess that given all of the strengths that I talked about earlier, along with the ability that he brings to the table, there are probably going to be many more teams interested, let's face it. Either way, though, I can guess that David Alaba will be spoilt for choice about his future when his contract expires this summer. A few honourable mentions before we go into the top free transfer potentially of this summer. The first one we're going to talk about is Sergio Ramos, the 34-year-old no-nonsense centre-back, doesn't mind getting his hands dirty with being rough against attackers. He's a natural leader. He's been world-class throughout his career, linked with a reunion with Jose Mourinho at Tottenham. So it'll be very interesting to see where his career lies, and especially just because we just mentioned David Alaba, it does appear that David Alaba, if he does go to Real Madrid, would be the replacement for Sergio Ramos, so that one's worth keeping an eye on. Another one is Julian Draxler, the 27-year-old, once very highly rated youngster. Never really hit the heights that were originally set for him back then. Of course, he moved to PSG, been playing his football in France the past few years, but is still a terrific player nonetheless. A return to Germany could be on the cards for him, and although he's most recently been linked with a move to Leeds United, a possible move to the Premier League isn't out of the question, but I would probably guess probably a return to Germany for him. And finally, on the honourable mentions list, we have to talk about Memphis Depay. The Dutch striker, formerly of Manchester United, currently of Lyon, scored 62 goals and assisted 47 times in 155 appearances for the French club. And of course, if you remember correctly, last year, at the end of the last campaign, he was linked very heavily with a reunion with fellow countryman and former manager Ronald Koeman at Barcelona. So it's entirely possible that Barcelona could be going in for him again this summer when his contract expires. And finally, number one, no prizes for guessing who this is. It is, of course, Lionel Messi. Yep, Lionel Messi is this season's number one top free transfer of this summer. Need I say any more? Seriously, do I need to say any more other than the name Lionel Messi? Okay, if you want me to, then arguably he is the greatest player of all time, a highly decorated player, winning a number of personal awards, as well as winning many trophies throughout his legendary career, including being a 6-time Ballon d'Or winner, the holder of numerous football records, and the creator of so many incredible and phenomenal memories. Do you want me to carry on? Okay. Barcelona have been a bit of a sinking ship over the past few years now due to the majority of off-the-pitch issues and their financial situation. Their decline has been well documented over the past few years, and as time has progressed, their issues have become more and more public. And if you remember, Messi was on course to leave Barcelona last year. Messi spent most of the summer wanting to leave the club on a free transfer and was attempting to use a contractual loophole in order to make that happen. But of course, as we know, it didn't happen, and Messi agreed to stay on for the remainder of his contract. Just to go over some of the trophies that Messi has won during his phenomenal Barcelona career. He is a 9-time La Liga champion. He has won the Copa del Rey on 6 occasions and has won the Champions League 4 times. And they are just some, I can't stress that enough, that's some of the trophies that he has won during his Barcelona career. He has played 750 games for the Spanish Giants, scoring 644 goals and assisting 284 times, which you don't need me to tell you is simply a phenomenal record, an incredibly phenomenal record. But this summer it seems that he is definitely on his way out of the Camp Nou, and there seems to be very little hope of the Spanish club being able to change his mind and convince him to stay and commit his future to the club. So where will the 33-year-old be playing his football next season? Well, if reports are to be believed, then PSG have made no hesitation in announcing that they would love Messi to join the French club next season. The idea of Messi linking up with former teammate Neymar for the next campaign will be great in itself, but also for Messi to be linking up with possibly the future of football in Kylian Mbappe, should he stay at the club, of course, is worth keeping an eye on regardless, and will be an interesting watch, especially under their new manager, Mauricio Pochettino. Or the other possibility is Messi reuniting with Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. Since re-signing with City earlier this season and committing his future to the club, the rumours have picked up a hell of a lot on Messi coming to England and joining Guardiola at the oil-rich club. City and Guardiola have since played it cool on the Messi situation, but don't believe everything you hear, and certainly watch this space on that one. Another possible outcome could be a return to Argentina for the incredibly talented player. But either way, this is set to be arguably the biggest free transfer of all time. Arguably the biggest transfer, regardless of fee, of all time. And you got to say that despite his age, Messi could refresh his career, and with a change of scenery, it could be a very good move for him as he encounters the final chapters of his legendary career. But whatever happens, Lionel Messi is certainly not going to be lacking any options this summer. And that wraps up this video on the top 5 biggest potential free transfers of this summer coming up. But of course, these are just one man's thoughts and one man's opinions. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all of the players that I've talked about in this list? Where do you think they'll go? Do you think they'll actually go? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions in the comment section below. I'm sure they'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things will be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video.